skies are darkening the world, you know. The hills no longer green. Like the animals, your blood will flow. Dreaming of this Christmas.
Smiling wide with empty eyes, I'll find you. You're a lot of fun, just like your friend. You're hiding, but I'm deep inside your mind. You'll die 1,000 times. Do you wanna try again? You're tired of running, nowhere to hide it. I'm getting closer every second.
Behind you.
There's so many souls to play with, so little time. Not long till I find you. Run for your life. You're in my world now. You're joining your friends. I'm coming to take your soul. In the end, you can't run.
Devoid's story takes place during the events of Sonic CD. Sonic had blasted through the 7 zones that made up Little Planet in an effort to stop Dr. Robotnik's latest evil scheme, which involved building a strange robotic shell around the planet as well as chaining it to Earth. He had made it to Robotnik's final base, Metallic Madness, and was ready to defeat the Mad Doctor once and for all. Unfortunately for Sonic, it was too late. Robotnik sat there in his station mech, lifeless, as loud maniacal laughter filled the room. The booming voice of Robotnik echoed around Little Planet as he revealed to Sonic that he had failed to stop his true plan. You see, the strange robotic shell he had built around Little Planet wasn't just for looks. It was a mechanical body fused with the planet and built to host Dr. Robotnik's mind and soul, giving him the ability to harness the full ability of the Time Stones, in turn allowing him control over time and space. Sonic tried to fight back, attacking wherever he could hear the voice coming from. His efforts were fruitless, as Robotnik was invincible in his current state. Sonic had no other choice. Despite what Robotnik had said, he attempted to use the 6 time stones in his possession, which he collected on his journey to Robotnik's final lair. Sonic had hoped that with the time stones, he could travel back to before Dr. Robotnik had the chance to fuse with the planet. However, given Robotnik essentially was Little Planet now, this failed catastrophically. Robotnik's will over the Time Stones won out, and Sonic was erased from time by them. Robotnik had won, and using his new time manipulative powers, he seized control over the universe and dominated everything in the timeline. Sonic woke up in a void, covered in unbearable pain, surrounded by nothing but pure darkness. Where was he? Was he dead? Or worse? He could still feel himself. He still felt alive. But at the same time, he felt empty, whatever that meant. He could still move, so he ran. He ran harder than he's ever ran before. Suddenly, Sonic was engulfed in light. His immense speed had somehow allowed him to escape the time punishment and warp back to his timeline. However, when he arrived, everything was wrong. The pain hadn't left. He still felt empty, but he was back in his world? Why wasn't everything normal again? The short relief he had was replaced by immense fear as he stumbled around Green Hill, begging for help. It looked different. The water seemed evaporated. The grass was decayed. Sonic, for the first time in his life, was terrified. Why was everything going wrong? Suddenly, a spark of hope. He had spotted a confused-looking Tails, viewing his surroundings in complete shock. "Tails!" Sonic cried out to his friend. Maybe he could figure out whatever was wrong with him.
Huh? Who's there?
Shocked to finally hear another voice. "Tails, I need help. It hurts. Please, fix this!" Sonic mumbled as he got closer and closer to Tails, who turned around to see whoever was trying to speak with him, only to be met with a horrible display. Tails' mind couldn't comprehend what he was seeing. Before he could even process what it was, he was torn apart in an instant and consumed by the non-existent entity before him. The only thing Tails could do was scream in pure agony as he was absorbed into the face of the anomaly that called himself Sonic. Sonic paused as the screams continued. He collapsed to the floor. They weren't stopping. Why weren't they stopping? He begged Tails to stop screaming, but nothing worked. Everything was wrong. Years have passed. Robotnik rules over Earth and many other parts of the universe. Because of his time powers, nobody can fight back against Robotnik. Nobody except Sonic. Sonic, being an entity that exists outside of time's rules, makes him one thing Robotnik can't control. And he vows to make Robotnik pay for what he's done to the universe, what he's done to him. Thanks to Tails, Sonic figured out long ago that if any living thing views him, they'll be absorbed into the black hole that makes up his non-existent face. Sonic wears the face of a destroyed Batnik as a mask, so said incident never happens again. He struggles to move on past the event, and the ever so constant screaming of his former friend makes it harder to forget. No matter how much he's been able to drown it out over the years, Sonic's on the brink of insanity. He's very emotionally unstable and struggles with his own identity. Picking up the name of Devoid as the name Sonic does nothing but cause him despair and disgust. No matter what happens, however, his one goal is to permanently destroy Robotnik, and he'll do whatever it takes to accomplish that. This story is really good, but I believe it is slightly outdated. This user gave me some updated story bits to Devoid, so shout out to you. The new story reads as follows, or at least what's new and what we have so far. This is read from DMs. I'm not entirely sure if it's public. Cherry Bun, if you see this and you feel a type of way about it, I will remove it from the video, but I'm pretty sure that it's okay to share it. The story begins in Metallic Madness. Sonic's dealt with multiple Eggman traps in the past. This time, Eggman's chained up Little/Miracle Planet to a mountain in Never Lake. Sonic has gone through multiple zones and now is in the last zone, the most mechanized section of Little Planet. One thing he's noticed is that Eggman seemed off. Things are in peril, even his own machines. But despite how bad things seemed, he hasn't given up hope. He counters Eggman at the end of the zone. In an anticlimactic fight, he goes down. He tries to speak to him, deliver his typical banter with Eggman, but there's no response. Eggman's not even moving inside the glass. He kicks the machine, launching the door open. Eggman's in there. At least, his body is. Sonic sees in there a husk of what used to be his rival, plugged to the machine, melded with it. Sonic barely has time to process this before laughter is heard all around him. Sonic is confused. Eggman tells him that this goes far beyond their little cat and mouse game. This is all a bit much for the hedgehog, and to make things worse, the pink hedgehog shows up when he told her to leave Little Planet back in Stardust Speedway. Things start collapsing around them as Eggman finally takes control of the whole of the planet. Sonic carries Amy away to safety and tells her to gather as many animals as she can and escape. He says he has a plan. He does not have a plan. He knows Eggman has always considered him a threat. If he can distract him just long enough under the guise of him having a plan, then Eggman will give the rest enough time to escape. So he begins running as fast as he can. He runs around Little Planet at light speed, going through the wrecked remains of each zone. Going to the past is out of the question. The signs are broken. A hologram of Eggman appears in front of him floating. He asks what he intends to do. Sonic responds in his usual snarky tone. Tells him that he has a plan to fix all this. Eggman is curious, but tells him this is pointless. Time is already in his control. That's it! The Time Stones! Sonic attempts to try and call upon them like he does with the emeralds. This is sure to work, right? Eggman immediately notices this. He tells him that it won't work, that they're under his jurisdiction. He tells him that Sonic is nothing more than a rat, a tiny little speck in the way of his plans, but something he must get rid of nonetheless. Their little game is over, and Sonic has lost. Before Sonic has time to question this, the Time Stones immediately backfire due to Eggman's control. Instead of allowing him to fix this, he's erased from existence itself. His scream ringing for a second before nothingness. Goodbye, my old adversary. As Amy and the animals climb slowly down the chain, little planet shell begins to break loose. They manage to escape, but Amy is hurt. Regardless, she keeps Sonic's words in mind. She needs to protect the animals. Sonic will be back eventually, right? Suddenly, Sonic is awake. At least he feels awake. However, he feels awful. The type of feeling when you're spacing out so hard you don't feel real, except it's constant, searing, and agonizing. Nothing but darkness around him as memories form landscape and quickly turn to dust. He doesn't know what to do or how to make it stop, so he keeps doing what he knows best. What he was doing before this happened. He runs. He keeps running. As fast as he can. He feels something. Just needs to. A light appears in front of him. Suddenly, he's back on Earth, on the ground, on his knees. He's escaped, but something's wrong. He still feels like he's in there. Like he never left. It still is unbearable. He stumbles around Never Lake and South Island. Something's wrong. The grass is dead. The water is gone. He couldn't have been gone for that long. It was just a few seconds. Or was it? The concept of time doesn't feel like anything to him anymore. He needs to find Tails. Maybe he can fix this. And that's where the newer story ends, but I wanted to read it in full as to give an idea as to the subtle changes, like including Amy, like she is in Sonic CD, and it just goes into a bit more detail as to how everything plays out, but the same concept is still the same. It's also worth mentioning that this story does have a name called Sonic Made a Bad Future. Yeah, that's pretty fitting. The first story I got off the Sonic Oddities wiki. Mr. Greenbean has sent me the rest of the story through DMs directly written by Cherry Bun. And like I said, if that is problematic, I will remove that section out. I hope I'm not leaking any secret lore tidbits. I'm pretty sure everything is the same. Regardless, Devoid isn't technically in EXE, though he was going to be in the cast of versesonic.exe, but it was canceled. This is one of the most interesting takes that I've had the pleasure of reading. And while I'm at it, I'd like to say that this won't be a replacement for the current videos that I do. I would like to try to do a couple more story times so that way we can get a bigger picture. The summaries aren't going anywhere, but I think I'm going to start putting them in different videos or separating them. So let me know what you think down below. I'm going to start reading the creepypastas and maybe giving some of my thoughts after I read them. As for this, I think that this story is amazing. Now, if you guys watched my tier list video, you guys would recognize this guy. And yes, this is the full story. And I can't emphasize enough that Cherry Bun did an amazing job with the character. So the link for Cherry Bun will be down in the description below. But I think one of the best parts about this particular Sonic is that it's entirely possible and it seems like a viable Sonic plot. We already know that Sonic does amazing with its darker plots. I mean, think the Metal Virus from the comics, or perhaps more well-known, Sonic Frontiers. And you could say what you want about the story, but I actually like the direction that it was taking with it. And this really leans into the idea that Sonic loses everything. Kind of like Sonic Prime, but there was actually a consequence to Sonic losing to Robotnik. In Sonic Prime, Sonic doesn't necessarily lose everything. In fact, he gets to create a lot of memories. Honestly, I haven't finished all of Sonic Prime. I'm only on the second season. So if he does lose everything and everything goes dark, I guess I'll find out. Though there was a consequence to this, he got to make a lot of friends and create a lot of memories and get like a few upgrades. But there was a point where in Sonic Prime, he did technically lose to Robotnik. The story wasn't as serious, whereas Devoid's case is if Robotnik wins, it's absolutely awful. I want to say something else about Devoid is his design is really good. So this is one of his older designs, or his oldest design, where it was actually a Majin mask, which this was drawn by Cherry Bun, which I thought was interesting because it looks really good. Devoid also was supposedly going to have a metal mask, as in Metal Sonic, which I thought looked really cool, but the thing that he has now kind of makes sense because he's trying to pick up and find anything that he can put onto his face to stop whatever happened to Tails from happening again. He even had his FNF sprite and also his pixel art. This is by far one of my favorite designs and a really good short story. You guys can check out his page down in the description below. And if you like these storytime videos, let me know down in the comments. And let me know what creepypasta you'd want me to read or anything along that vein. A huge shout out to Serenity for lending me her voice for Tails. Links for her will be down in the description. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and remember, stay freaky.
I'm sick of your shit, Sonic.